the world of medicine, where every decision can change lives, your peace of mind is crucial. This is where Pattern steps in. Imagine insurance made simple, fast, and personalized just for you. With Pattern, you're not just getting disability and life insurance, you're ensuring your future and protecting your greatest asset, your income. In the past 10 years, Pattern has transformed the way over 20,000 doctors secure their financial well-being. Discover the simplicity of securing your future at patternlife.com or click the link in the description.
We work hard as physicians to take care of the health and well-being of our patients. But when it comes to our money, do we have the same condition of care? Probably not. Let's change that together. Welcome to the Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast, where we'll fight and advocate for your financial literacy. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. Thanks for being here. Let's jump into the show. Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode, and I've got a fantastic guest for you today, Zach Lemaster. He's the CEO of Rent to Retirement. This podcast is all about real estate, and it's a bread and butter episode for all of the guests that are looking to use real estate for cash flow, passive income, cap appreciation, storage of wealth, tax advantages, all of them. And Zach is here to elucidate and talk about his strategy. So Zach, welcome.
Hey, Christopher, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. And yeah, all those things you mentioned are beautiful parts of real estate. So I'm excited to talk about them.
Love it. And I want to talk to you about the current environment as well, which has really gotten a lot of questions. But I know we're talking, you have a background in optometry with your wife and you retired through real estate. So talk about that and what you do now.
Certainly. So I'll try to give you the quick overview, somewhat quick. As you mentioned, my wife and I, we have a background in healthcare. We're both optometrists by education. We met in school in Oregon, in Portland. Went to school there. I was on HPSP scholarship with the Air Force. So joined the Air Force afterwards as a captain, practiced optometry for 7 years there, running clinics, and then left the military, moved out to Denver, where we owned and operated private practices and eventually sold those. But our investing journey started my first year as a young captain in the Air Force. I used a VA loan. I bought a duplex, lived in half, rented out the other half. That was really what, I guess, solidified my interest in rental real estate because it was a great concept, right? I mean, I paid I lived for free. I had an asset that I got tax advantages for that I bought with no money down. The house appreciated over time. So I fell in love with real estate and it was very tangible and simple, right? The math was basic. So I was able to, from there, buy more rentals the next year and more rentals the next year. And this is, for the past 15 years, I haven't taken a year off from investing. But eventually, Christopher, we were able to replace our active income in optometry through real estate investing. And this did not happen overnight, but it did happen in a few short years of intentional investing. And really the pivotal moment that allowed us to really be successful is when my wife and I learned how to invest strategically out of state, looking at areas outside of our own local market where there was better opportunity, we had better cash flow numbers, more affordability in homes. And that was a difficult thing to do initially, but it was a very important thing. We started locally because that's what we felt comfortable with and knew. But once we learned that, hey, there's a lot of exciting markets out there and dynamic things happening where we can be more successful investors and expedite our success in some of these markets. So we learned how to invest in those areas. And that eventually paved the path for us to retire ourselves from our professional career path. And that was really the birthplace of Rent to Retirement. We had a lot of friends and family and colleagues that were like, hey, we see what you're doing in real estate. That's great. Like, can you help us? We don't necessarily want to be landlords. We don't know how to invest in real estate. Our local market's too expensive, whatever the case is. And so that's where we started our Turnkey business, probably a decade ago, where we essentially identified the best markets throughout the country. And we built our teams and systems in those areas to allow individual investors to buy rental real estate in the best markets throughout the U.S. where we handle everything for them. And so fast forward to where we're at today, we work across the country in 12 to 15 markets. Last year, we did just over 1,000 properties with our investors and doing some really cool things, especially in the build to rent space. And I guess I'll stop there without being terribly long-winded.
No, it's really interesting, and it's kind of like a cookie cutter approach. And you talk about turnkey investing, and what is it, who is it right for, and why should anyone consider this strategy?
Yeah, so that's what we do. That's what Rent to Retirement does. We're a turnkey operator and provider. And so what that means, that's first of all, it's a buzzword. A lot of people hear turnkey, they don't really maybe know exactly what that means, or there's some people saying turnkey, but turnkey for us is basically allowing the investor to invest in real estate without having to do property management, where we are handling everything for you. This allows you, regardless of where you're at with your investing experience or where you're located geographically, allows you to invest in some of the best deals across the country, to have the financial upside of real estate and actually build out your own portfolio, take advantage of the tax benefits, where we are handling everything for you. This means property management. We're identifying the markets. A lot of what we do is ground up construction. So our mission statement is to make the best deals across the country accessible to everyone and allow you to invest passively in real estate, where we handle everything for you. When we talk about turnkey, it's not just about buying properties, though. There's a lot, anyone can buy properties anywhere, right? But I think the value add that our company really provides, and what has allowed us to build, the best reputation in the turnkey space and have many repeat clients, is the fact that we're helping people build business models around investing in rental real estate. It's not just about buying properties. It's about buying properties strategically that fit your goals with an end goal in mind. What type of legal structure do you need to set up to protect your asset? What type of tax advantages? If anyone has ever listened to me, or if you do end up following me, you'll hear me talk about the tax advantages all the time with rental real estate, allowing people to do creative things like cost segregation, accelerated depreciation on short-term rentals or long-term rentals as they build out their portfolio. Your audience is healthcare professionals, high-income earners, and we're all paying a ton in taxes that we don't necessarily have to. And so our goal is to basically allow people to have a strategy and a plan, as well as access the best deals across the country.
Yeah. So it sounds like your firm handles a lot of the, different aspects of rental real estate. And so the other question a lot of the audience may ask or wonder is how is does your firm involve in any syndications? Are you pulling funds, or is it actually, investors are buying their real estate and then turning it over to you for management and all of that?
So we are helping people build their individual portfolio where you are 100% the owner of the property. And I do believe that this is where you get the best advantages. First and foremost, you're able to use leverage, right, to buy and scale your portfolio. So that we're not a syndicator. We don't raise capital from investors. We don't pool money together. You're not a limited partner. You actually have control over your portfolio. And syndications are great. I've invested in a lot of syndications. I've also lost a lot of money in syndications as well with operators or properties that went south, and you have very little control, right? And it is high risk, because that is a potential. You could lose all of your money. So we help people actually own physical assets where they're 100% the owner of the property. And this is meant to be a comprehensive approach where there's local property management set up in each area. We don't do property management in-house, but we do partner and network and vet local property managers in each location that we operate in. And so really the client journey, someone comes to us, they have maybe some goals in mind, maybe not, maybe they're a newer investor. The previous question you asked is like, who's Turnkey right for? Generally, it's someone who is a brand new investor, just wants an easy way to get started with some handholding. It's someone who wants to be a passive investor, where they're not having to handle management. They have a team already established, especially if they're investing out of state. Someone who lives in an expensive market where the local real estate maybe just isn't attainable or doesn't make sense to invest in. Or someone that just wants to scale and diversify their portfolio easily across multiple different markets, even if they're a professional investor already. But the process is someone comes to our team. We usually have a strategy consultation with you where we learn about your goals and criteria. We don't charge investors anything because we make our money through building and selling houses, right? Just like builders would. And then we go through a strategy consultation to learn about your goals, criteria. We provide you with some resources. What type of financing do you need? We've pre-negotiated in a lot of cases, wholesale type of fee structures with lenders. You don't have to use those lenders, but you get access to those. And then we just identify the properties and markets that make the most sense for you at any given point in time. We have 50 to 60 properties for sale that are available across a plethora of different markets. We identify those properties. We help you buy them. These are properties that we've personally built or that we've partnered with builders to build. So someone isn't bringing us a random property from an area that we haven't vetted and don't have an established team. Like, we have a process to follow, a proven track record. We know the areas that are growing the most and have the highest appreciation. So these are the areas that we offer properties in, and then we help you close on that property, normal real estate transaction, appraisals, inspections, financing, et cetera, set you up on management, and then, help you scale your portfolio, whatever makes most sense for you.
Yeah. The other, so it sounds like a really interesting way that you could, and like you said, diversify and also, invest across multiple locations. So the other question we'll talk about the benefits of, kind of diversifying your portfolio in different, so talk about the advantages of just like, why would someone would consider, and are these properties, so you vetted them, but a lot of the investors, they purchase them through your platform or your company, but do they actually have, like, do they physically have to step foot, or it's just photos, sight unseen? Explain that more.
Yeah, so your first question is just around diversification, and we always hear this, right? In any sort of investing, it's important to be diversified, and I think that's true of real estate especially. But real estate, right, and yes, especially right now, it's a dynamic market, right? There's a lot of things changing. We try to be in areas that are in the path of progress, where there's an undersupply of housing, and a very high demand. A lot of these areas are southeast areas like Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Carolinas, areas where Florida is a big area where there's people moving to these areas, and there's not enough housing to support those. So those are the places we want to be. So diversification is not just about, not putting all your eggs in one basket and having a diversified portfolio from a risk threshold. It is also about accessing the best locations where you can maximize your returns. All right. We have some properties, for example, right now where we have a brand new constructed house, and we mainly operate with single family and small multi. But let's say, an average house is probably in the southeast, 250 to $300,000 for a, four bedroom, 2,200 square foot house that maybe is going to rent out for, I don't know, low 2000, low to mid 2000, something like that. So we'll cash flow 20% down. But we do have really unique creative financing options for people as well. And we have a lot of incentives that allow you to expedite your success. You have the option of buying properties where we'll give you an automatic 5% discount. That's $20,000 on a $400,000 house, where you can turn around and sell it for that much more the next day if you want. Or you can take that as a cash back credit at closing, where we'll cover up 5% of your down payment, to allow you to get money back in your pocket versus always having to shell out 20% down payments. We also have local credit unions that will do financing with as little as 5 to 10% down on multiple investment properties. So I'm kind of shotgunning things out there. I just want to showcase like some of the unique creative things we help people with. But we have many people that will use one of these credit unions to finance a true investment property at 5% down. We'll give you a 5% closing cost credit as 5% of your down, or the purchase price, which covers the 5% of the down payment, and you're into a property for little to nothing, and allows you to scale your portfolio. And then some people will take accelerated depreciation on those, and on that $300,000 property, they'll get $100,000 of accelerated depreciation year one that will allow them to offset their high income. So these are all sorts of things that we work with people on, but they do not have to visit the properties in person. Some people do. We encourage you to do that if you can. I think that's an important thing to visit an area, but vast majority of people are buying sight unseen simply because they're able to do due diligence online. They're going through a normal purchase. The lender is going to require you to have a third-party appraisal, inspection reports, title work. We provide ample information about the opportunity. We do video walkthroughs of everything. So I think most people feel comfortable buying sight unseen, but that's not a requirement. We encourage you to go out to the area to familiarize yourself with the investment area. That's a business expense that you can write off of as well. We try to provide as much information as possible.
Yeah. The next question I have is, we'll talk about, so like a lot of the investors that you're seeing, you talk about investing with the approach and intention of saving taxes over, some people like just the cash flow, or some people just, they want to control and put their wealth there. So kind of share some insights on how strategic tax planning can lead to more substantial long-term benefits than the immediate returns from cash flow.
Oh, Christopher, how much time you got? But because we could go all day. We run a very successful business. We run an 8-figure business, and over the past, 5, 6 years, we've paid zero in taxes, and that is simply because we buy enough real estate every single year to offset our active income every single year. And a lot of that is done through um, trading up through 1031 exchanges, but also running cost segregation and accelerated depreciation. And this is something, if you're a high income earner, you may have heard about. Maybe you've already done this or you're thinking about it, but this is something that can be extremely, extremely powerful. So we probably don't have enough time to go deep into this, but I do want to touch on this, the strategy behind this. If you're a real estate professional, if you're a doctor, and you have high income earnings and you're full-time employed, like it's unrealistic that you're likely going to qualify for a real estate professional. And what that does is allows you to take anyone can do accelerated depreciation on a property. But being a real estate professional allows you to, and this is a self-identified thing with IRS, is you don't apply for it, but allows you to take your passive losses against your active income. Now, if you're working and you have a spouse that is part-time working or maybe not employed, stays at home with kids, whatever the case is, like maybe they could be the real estate professional and then you file jointly. To use an example, though, let's say you buy $1 million worth of real estate. Let's say you use leverage and you put $200,000 down to buy $1 million of real estate. Most of our cost segregation, our accelerated depreciation, we see coming in between 30 to 35%. So that $1 million of real estate that you use $200,000 down to buy, you could potentially expect $300,000 to $350,000 accelerated depreciation that you take in year one. Now, this is being phased out over time. It's at 60% this year, 40% next year. However, there is the extension on the 2017 Tax Act that's likely to extend that out. That is one of many ways that people can shelter taxes. If you're not a real estate professional, we also have short-term rentals. There's a short-term loophole where you don't have to be a real estate professional. You can buy a brand new construction house. You can furnish it. You can self-manage it for year one, which we have. We have all these resources to help you through this. So you're not doing it alone, but you do need to be self-managing it. And that allows you to take accelerated depreciation on that short-term rental and apply that because it's an active business in eyes of IRS if you're operating as a short-term rental. And it allows you to actually take that same tax benefit, accelerated depreciation against your active income without being a real estate professional. So even if you and your spouse, say you're both high income earners, you're both full-time, this is your first real estate property, you can still take accelerated depreciation on those. I mean, that's just a couple of many things. We also work with people to help them set up, 1031 exchanges, deferred sales trusts with the sale of their business, or sale of real estate to avoid capital gain taxes. Just owning real estate long-term and making sure you're accounting for things appropriately. I mean, that creates a ton of passive losses. We call it tax-free income, right? Your cash flow on a property. If you had $10,000 a month in income that you don't have to pay any taxes on, that could be the equivalent of $15,000 to $18,000, depending on your tax bracket of, pre-tax dollars. Investing through retirement accounts, solo 401k, self-directed IRA. I could keep going, Christopher, but the point is that we help people put together a plan that makes sense for them and be extremely conscious about how to maximize their tax savings to reinvest that money.
Yeah. Yeah. We filed our, the deadline and, I'm looking at our rentals and it's like, there's cash flow, but it's like, it's awesome because you got depreciation, you got, got write-offs, you got expenses. So that, I was like, this is why a lot of high income earners love real estate.
Can I use a little example real quick from
Yeah.
there was because I think this is very applicable to your audience. So we had a client that he was a surgeon and he was probably earning $500,000 to $600,000 a year, just him. His wife was mainly stay at home, had a small part-time job. And he, obviously had high tax. He was in the highest tax bracket, right? So he's paying an exorbitant amount in taxes. He was new to real estate. He had some previous real estate investing experience, but he did not want to be a landlord. He did not have a good previous experience because, just self-managing like many of us do. We don't do the best job, or maybe we don't, it's better to have professional property management that knows what they're doing. So he is interested in buying some property specifically for a tax purpose. And we put together a scenario for him. He had a couple $100,000 to invest. And so he could have used that to buy, whatever three new investment properties. He probably wouldn't have qualified as for Real Estate Pro first year, but we helped him go through the short-term route where he taught his wife how to be a short-term property manager from a distance, and it was a very easy thing to do. They furnished the house, and so they were able to take accelerated depreciation on their short-term properties. But what we actually did for him, instead of just using that $200,000 to buy 3 brand new construction properties, which he probably would have got, close to that $1 million mark, we allowed him to use, or helped him use, some creative financing options where he actually bought significantly more properties, putting only 5% down on the vast majority. Some he did put more down, but he bought multiple properties with 5% down. And then he ran accelerated depreciation on those and completely wiped out his tax liability for that year and created a loss that carried forward into the future year for future income, because he was able to scale his portfolio quicker and own more rental real estate. And then the kicker on this is he selected inventory that he put 5% down. We gave him the 5% credit for his down payment on those properties. And so he was literally, created this huge taxable offset, right, through accelerated depreciation and he still has the majority of his $200,000 to invest. But it took work, right? It took a strategy. But that is just a unique way that we can help some people, advance their goals. But his main objective was tax benefits. And these are all A-class new construction properties that will continue to appreciate over time, continue growing rents. So I just wanted to share that unique example.
Yeah, I love that. And kind of we're kind of coming to the end. Talk about this idea, because especially in this environment, and is the Fed gonna hold rates? Are they gonna cut rates? We got an election. We have all this like a war and inflation. And I talked to a lot of multifamily. They say they're struggling. So talk about kind of your thoughts around the real estate market this year and maybe into next year. I know, again, we could go, it's a webinar in itself, but kind of just general overview.
Well, there's always something going on. I'll say that, right? Like at any point in time that we have the same conversation, there is something. And so, I mean, whether you're looking at COVID, or whatever the case is, I mean, and look at what happened post-COVID, right, with appreciation rates. So this is my piece of advice for anyone listening that's considering all these things happening in the world and thinking about real estate, is to just ignore it first and foremost and focus on the fundamentals of investing in real estate and create a strategy and a plan that is specific to you based on your goals. Because things are always changing, but there's always opportunity, especially where there's turmoil, right? So yes, this is election year. We've just gone through, over the past 2 years, we've seen the most dramatic increase in interest rates we've seen in 40 years. Now, those will be lowering. I mean, the Fed, they're just jerking our chain around, right, about when that's going to happen, but they likely will lower rates. Even if they don't, so what? Like we buy in areas where there's supply and demand. That's economics 101, right? We buy in areas where even if you're break even cash flow today, we know that those homes are appreciating both in rents and home values year after year. And so it's all about buying in good areas. Don't ever base your decision around. I mean, that's what the masses do, right? They listen to things going on in the world. But I think to answer your question and not circumvent the question, I think rates are going to drop. We're probably not seeing as many or aggressive drops as we initially anticipated, but Fed's very slow. We don't base our investing based on that decision. But what I can tell you is that over the past 2 years, it's kind of been a stagnant market, right? We've had very low inventory availability. People haven't been selling their houses because they have low rates they want to hold on to. There hasn't been a lot of investor activity. So like deals have just slowed down. As soon as interest rates do lower, I anticipate it to move right back into a seller's market where there's a lot more competition, likely, multiple bids. And will be a slow trend, but like right now, I think is a very unique time where you can buy things where you get a lot of incentives. And for example, just to use some stats, because we were talking about this on another podcast just earlier today, but the U.S. has a shortage of 7.2 million homes right now, and this is the worst it's ever been, and it's not getting any better. Construction is extremely slow right now, so. If you can buy, because we mainly do new construction, we like areas where they're growing in the path of progress. But this means that if you can be in an area where you have an undersupplied housing, you're probably going to be okay, right? You can always refinance houses if interest rates lower, but there's a lot of unique creative financing options available right now that can help you be successful. In addition to that, there's a little bit of a surplus of builder inventory right now that builders have been sitting on that they're highly motivated to get rid of. And so this means you can come in and likely, buy things below market value. They're buying rates down. We see some builders buying rates down into the 4s and 5%. Like the Fed's not going to lower the rate that much. So you can actually, my point is you can create a scenario being a savvy investor. If you're just out there being conscious of what options you have, you can create a scenario that makes sense for you based on your goals. But yeah, I think the next 2 years, we're likely to move back into a seller's market. It will move slowly, and I think right now is a unique time to make some big moves.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love, especially, after the great financial crisis, 2008, 2009, 2010, the properties here in Houston, very attractive. And same thing here, it's not as bad as '08, but you still have a lot of uncertainty, so you can profit from that. I know a lot of the audience doctors, they're interested, high income earners, they're interested in, learning about turnkey investing, maybe set up a call with you. How can they do that?
Yeah, the first step, as we mentioned, we always want to have a consultation with you to learn about your investment goals, right? And to maybe just educate you on some things in the market, whether you're investing with us or not. We love to add value and share resources with you, market data, information, contacts for different lenders, whatever the case is. We always want to set up a call with you. You can contact us by going to our website. That's renttoretirement.com, you can also, if you're listening to this in the car, you can text REI to 33777. Again, that's REI to 33777 and set up a consultation with our team. But we have a ton of resources. We have our own podcast, YouTube channel. We put out a lot of information about saving taxes, about being savvy investors, about different emerging markets that you should be conscious of. And we love to add value to investors regardless of, your investing experience.
Yeah, I love that. And again, also Zach's, stressed the importance of a solid, experienced real estate investment team. You can do this on your own, but it's going to be a lot harder. All of Zach's resources will be in the links and show notes. Check out his resources, what they have to offer. Give his socials a like and follow. And with that, thanks so much for coming on.
Doctors dedicate their lives to caring for others. It's time someone took care of you. Visit patternlife.com to simplify your path to peace of mind. Patternlife.com, simplifying your insurance journey.
I'm excited that you made it for another episode. You are truly the best. If you've been following the show for a while, you know that my passion is to bring you the education you need to find your path to financial freedom. Please come back week after week for new content, new resources, and great guests. Until then, if you haven't already, please be sure to check out the website, www.drchrislewmdphd.com for more support. I'll see you next week.